So this week, Nintendo sort of stealth dropped the next update for Super Mario Maker 2, announcing it and then releasing it 2 days later. The update adds a bunch of new content and features, but it is also the final major update for the game, which to me sounds like from now on, in terms of updates, we're just going to be getting like minor tweaks and bug fixes. In terms of substantial content, this is pretty much the end. And for that reason, if this is the end, many feel that this is kind of disappointing. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Just as an update on its own, I think it'd be very hard to not like what we're getting here. Tons of just everything. Power-ups, was really hyped to see the boomerang make it in. Wearables, that Bullet Bill wearable, I've seen a ton of sweet uses for that already. The Koopa Kids are in now to offer some more variety in terms of boss-type enemies. You've got a sort of Mario Bros. 2 mushroom power-up, which allows you to pick up enemies like in Mario Bros. 2 and throw them. Just tons of stuff that the community had been wanting for a long time. There's no way, I think, you can fault most of these additions. But it is, again, I think, that final update factor that is the issue here, especially coming less than a year after the game's release. I think they've added plenty since, but making this the final major one probably means anything else people wanted isn't going to come, which there's obviously countless Mario things they could still add. With the deep history and breadth of the Mario games, you could probably add things forever, and obviously everyone wasn't going to get what they want. But I'd like to focus on one particular omission that I think most people were expecting. One of the big new features that people hyped up about Mario Maker 2 was the addition of different game styles, which would allow for themes for more Mario games that also allowed you to build unique levels that took advantage of features from that particular game. So the first one was Super Mario 3D World, which allowed you to use the cat suit from that game to climb objects when building a level in this style. As soon as this was announced, people speculated as to what other Mario styles may come. Maybe a Super Mario 64, Galaxy, perhaps an Odyssey one that allowed players to use Cappy, that'd be sick. But we never got another style. Not a single one. To this day, the section still labeled Extra Game Styles, plural, only has one style. And with this being the final major update, I'd highly doubt we're ever going to get another one. Like, I don't know how a new game style update wouldn't be considered major. So I think people feel kind of gypped in that respect, and rightfully so. Why'd you give it this section, call it styles plural and all that, if you weren't going to do any more? The other big disappointment for me here is actually with the biggest new feature in this update. The marquee attraction in the final update is definitely this world builder, which essentially allows you to create your own full-on Mario game in Mario Maker 2. You design the overworld layout, where the stages go, how players progress, set warp pipes. They've even got mini-game bonus stages. You can link up to 8 worlds, I think, so when players beat one, they go on to the next. I think the cap is 40 levels in total. It seriously is like you get to make your own game that others get to play, which is great in theory. In reality, in actual practice, I think this thing needs some work. While I love the potential, what people can do with this mode, the problem for me is this is a much greater task than creating one bite-sized level and having people play it. Now you've got to have multiple, possibly dozens of levels that you put together to have people play through, which means the likelihood of people putting out crap is even higher than before. And I don't even think I have high standards, but I'd say the majority of the worlds I've played so far have been subpar. Most people's quality just isn't enough to get me to want to play through, again, a whole game essentially that they made. People may front load their good ones, so you play the first 2 or 3 levels in a world and are like, oh, this is pretty good. Then the quality just drops off a cliff. I even had one where the guy just copy and pasted the same piece of shit auto-scroller that was like 1 second, not even a cool one, and that's all it was. The whole world was just that same level over and over again. Now, similar to just playing the levels, this can be remedied by, playing the good ones. Actively go to the ones people like and play those. But that's why this is such an issue. There is effectively no curation. You go into the world section and it's like you just have a random allotment to pick from. You can see the creator's user score. That's about all you have to go off of, and that's still not necessarily going to be reflective of what they've built here. You don't have the search functions like being able to look for puzzle types. I guess since it's a whole world, it'll probably be a mixture of different level designs. Difficulty, though, I think would still be nice. And of course, having some sort of rating system. Because you're still, when you go into these worlds, you give ratings only to the individual levels, not the world itself. So yeah, hopefully this wouldn't be something considered to be a major update, but this thing desperately needs a way to weed out the trash and get people playing the high-quality worlds. To me, honestly, as it is right now, it feels like work trying to find a world that is actually worth playing all the way through, which is not how I want to spend my free time. I see this world builder mode quickly becoming an afterthought, with people just going back to playing the individual levels if something isn't done. So overall, I think the update is very good. It's just making this the final one makes the whole thing feel a bit lackluster. It seems early, like I said, the game hasn't even been out a full year. And while there have been big updates like this one, the Link one that allowed you to wield the Master Sword and everything, there certainly hasn't been many of these updates. Seems crazy to me that we'll probably never get a new game style, and this big world builder mode definitely needs a lot of work, in my opinion, to make me want to keep playing it. I still think the game is good, it's great, a solid value and everything. They improved a lot on the original. I would fully still recommend the game, and while this may be the end of big updates, people are still going to be entertained by this game for a long time, which is the most important thing. But cutting things off here does seem a bit premature. And I get there are people who will say like, oh, well, they want to save stuff for the next Mario Maker, but I don't think we even need a direct sequel to this, at least for a long time. Definitely not until Nintendo's next system, because I believe the next Mario Maker game should be Super Mario Maker 3D. Having players build 3D levels rather than 2D ones makes the most sense to me, and a 3D Mario Maker would hardly be like a sequel to this. Like, they'd be starting from scratch. There may be some elements that cross over, but yeah, it would be mostly a totally different thing. So if they do end up going that route, having the next game be a 3D Mario Maker, it would have made sense to blow this game out in terms of these 2D offerings, giving as much as they possibly could, and I think they definitely could have done more. Anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on the final major update for Mario Maker 2 in the comments. How do you feel about this likely being the end of major additions to the game? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of the final update for Mario Maker 2. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at JohnnyZakari. And join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends. Link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.